The planet of Ilyara floated like a bright gem in the darkness of space. Its blue oceans and green forests had been peaceful for centuries. The Ilyarans were gentle people. They built great cities of glass and crystal. They studied art, music, and science. War was something they read about in history books, not something they lived through. But everything changed in a single night. The sky turned red as Krelnar warships entered orbit. These were not traders or explorers, they were conquerors. Their metal ships rained fire on the cities below. Towers crumbled, streets burned, and the peaceful Ilyarans ran for safety. In the capital city of Veliros, the Ilyaran council gathered. Their leader, Eleanor Vey, looked tired as she stood before the others. "We cannot fight them," she said softly. "Our defenses are weak. Our people will not survive another day of this attack." "Then we must send a call for help," another counselor said. "The Galactic Council will answer us. They have fleets. They will protect us," Eleanor nodded. "Send the signal. Send it to every star system that can hear us." Someone must answer. A single transmission was sent and a desperate cry across the stars. "This is Ilyara. We are under attack by Krelnar forces. Our cities are falling. Please, anyone who hears this, help us." The message sped across space, traveling faster than light. Far away, in the Sol system, the signal reached Triton Station, a massive human outpost orbiting Neptune's largest moon. Inside the control room, a young communications officer stared at her screen. "Captain, you need to hear this," she said. Captain Rafe Calder stepped forward. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the hardened look of a man who had worked all his life in Neptune's brutal storms. "What is it, Kira?" he asked. She pressed a button. The room filled with the voice of Eleanor Vey, pleading for help. When the message ended, silence hung in the air. Rafe folded his arms. "Where is this planet?" 12 light-years from here," Kira replied. "Small world. Mostly civilian population. No real military." Another officer shook his head. "This isn't our fight, Captain. The Galactic Council will handle it." Rafe turned to him. "The Council?" He gave a short, bitter laugh. "By the time they send a fleet, there won't be a planet left to save." The others fell silent. Everyone on Triton knew the truth. The Galactic Council moved slowly. Too slowly, Rafe stood for a moment, then made his decision. "Call the captains. Every independent ship in the Neptunian colonies. Tell them we have a mission." "Sir?" Kira asked carefully. Rafe's voice was calm but firm. "The Ilyarans called for help. No one else is answering, so we will." Within hours, the Triton hangars came alive with activity. Freighters, mining ships, and small patrol craft were armed and prepared for war. The Neptunians had no polished battlecruisers. Their ships were patched together with scrap and stubbornness, but they were fast, tough, and deadly when they needed to be. Volunteers gathered at the main briefing hall. Rafe looked at the faces in the crowd. They were miners, engineers, traders, not soldiers, but they were used to surviving storms that crushed metal and ice that could kill a man in seconds. "We're not the biggest fleet," Rafe told them. "We're not the strongest. But we know how to fight when we have to. The Krelnar think they can burn a peaceful world and no one will stop them. I say we prove them wrong." The room erupted with cheers. As the fleet prepared to depart, Rafe stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Hail, staring out at Neptune's deep blue glow. "You're really doing this," Kira said quietly. "Someone has to," Rafe replied. "Those people don't need promises. They need ships." Moments later, the fleet fired up its drives. One by one, the Neptunian ships leapt into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the cold beauty of Neptune. Meanwhile, on Ilyara, the situation grew worse. The Krelnar ground forces marched through the forests, rounding up survivors. Smoke from burning cities darkened the sky. In the capital, Eleanor Vey stood at the council chamber window. "No one is coming," she whispered to herself. Just then, her assistant rushed in. "Leader Vey! We have received a response to our signal." Eleanor turned, hope flashing in her eyes. "From the council?" The assistant shook his head. "No, from a place called Neptune. They say they are human, and they are coming." Eleanor frowned. She had heard of humans, rough, dangerous, called Deathworlders by many. They came from a planet so hostile that their very existence amazed scientists. "Humans?" she whispered. Could such people really save them? Days later, as the Krelnar fleet tightened its hold on Ilyara, strange ships appeared on the edge of the system. Small, fast, and carrying human transponders. On the Krelnar flagship, the commander snarled, "Primitive humans? This is no war fleet. Crush them and finish this." But the humans did not run. They formed up in a tight line and accelerated toward Ilyara, weapons armed. On the iron hail, Rafe Calder stood tall. "This is for Ilyara," he said, and with that the humans of Neptune charged straight into the fire. The stars over Ilyara burned bright as the Neptunian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 20 ships, and no two of them identical, appeared on the edge of the system. Some were converted freighters. Others were mining haulers with weapons strapped to their sides. They looked nothing like a professional navy, but to the Krelnar commander they were an insult. "Destroy them," he growled from his command throne. His fleet was twice the size of the human one, with sleek black warships built for conquest. On the iron hail, Captain Rafe Calder stood in the center of the bridge. "Bring us into formation. Target the nearest destroyer," he ordered. Kira, sitting at the weapons station, swallowed hard. "Rafe, their ships are bigger, faster, and better armed." "Then we don't fight fair," he said with a grin. The human ships moved forward, flying close together. They weaved between each other with impossible precision, like they had rehearsed this moment 100 times. But they hadn't. These were miners and engineers, used to working together in Neptune's deadly storms, where teamwork was the only way to survive. The battle began with a thunderclap of light. Krelnar guns spat glowing fire across space. The first human ship took a direct hit and spun out of formation. But instead of retreating, the humans pushed forward, closing the distance at breakneck speed. "Hold fire until we're close enough to smell their hulls," Rafe said. Smell in space?" Kira asked. "You know what I mean. Close range only." At a dangerous distance, the human fleet finally opened fire. Their weapons were simple but brutal. Railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. One Krelnar ship's shields shattered under the first volley. A second was hit by a missile launched from a converted mining drone. The Krelnar commander leaned forward in shock. "They fight like mad beasts," he muttered. Meanwhile, on the surface of Ilyara, the surviving citizens watched the sky as streaks of light burned above them. For the first time in days, they felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. "Who are they?" one child asked, clinging to her mother. "They are the humans," the mother whispered. "They came for us." The Krelnar tried to push the humans back. But Rafe's fleet kept darting in and out of their firing arcs, hitting weak points, then disappearing into the planet's shadow. "This is working," Kira said, unable to hide her excitement. "It's just the first round," Rafe replied. "We're here to do more than scare them. We're here to break them." He turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare the strike teams. We're going to hit their ground command." Hours later, a small group of human dropships broke away from the fleet and entered Ilyara's atmosphere. They flew low, under enemy radar, and landed near the Krelnar ground base hidden in the forests. Rafe led the team himself. He wore armored survival gear scratched and dented from years of use. His team carried rifles, explosives, and the same stubborn courage that had carried them through Neptune's storms. "Remember," Rafe told them, "we're not here to wipe them all out. Just cut off their head, take out their command center, and the rest will scatter." The humans moved through the forest like ghosts, using the thick trees for cover. They reached the Krelnar base just before dawn. Inside the base, the Krelnar commander barked orders at his troops, preparing for another attack. He had no idea humans were already in his camp. Rafe's team slipped through the perimeter fence. They planted charges on fuel tanks and communication towers. When the last charge was set, Rafe gave the signal. The night exploded in fire. The Krelnar camp turned to chaos as humans charged out of the smoke, firing with precision. The Krelnar were strong, but they were not used to fighting close-range battles like this. The humans fought with a ferocity that shocked them. Rafe and his team reached the command building. 2 guards tried to block the door, but the humans knocked them down and rushed inside. Within minutes, the Krelnar commander lay on the floor, disarmed and glaring. "You should have stayed out of this," he hissed. Rafe looked him straight in the eyes. "You should have stayed off their planet." He triggered the detonator. Above the planet, the Krelnar fleet suddenly lost its coordination. Without ground command, their ships moved in confusion. That was all the chance the Neptunian fleet needed. "Hit them now," Rafe ordered over comms. From orbit, the human ships launched everything they had left. Missiles streaked through space. Railguns fired until their barrels overheated. One by one, Krellnar ships were destroyed or forced to flee. When the last enemy ship jumped out of the system, the stars over Iliara were quiet again. On the surface, the humans regrouped. Some were injured, their suits scorched, but they stood tall. "They're gone," Kira's voice said over the radio. "The Krellnar are retreating." Rafe looked at his team and smiled. "Then we did it. Iliara is free." In the capital city, Eleanor Vey stood before the surviving council. She looked at the human standing beside her, dirty, tired, but alive. "You saved us," she said simply. Rafe shook his head. "No, you saved yourselves. We just gave you a fighting chance." For the first time since the war began, the Iliarans cheered, but Rafe knew it wasn't over. The Krellnar had been beaten but not destroyed. They would be back, and the humans would be ready. The smoke had cleared over Iliara. For the first time in weeks, the sun rose on a quiet morning. The cities were still scarred, buildings still smoldered, but there was no more fire raining from the sky. Captain Rafe Calder stood on a balcony overlooking the capital. His armor was scorched, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion, but there was a small smile on his face. "You should be resting," Kira said as she joined him. "I'll rest when we're sure they're safe," Rafe replied, still scanning the horizon as if expecting another attack. The Iliarans worked quickly to rebuild. Under human guidance, they dug trenches, set up defensive towers, and reinforced their power plants. These were things they had never done before. Their peaceful lives had never needed such preparations. Eleanor Vey watched, with quiet amazement as the humans worked, alongside her people. "They are so different from us," she said, softly to one of her counselors. "So fierce, but so willing to help." "They are Deathworlders," the counselor replied nervously. "Many in the galaxy fear them. Perhaps they should fear no longer," Eleanor said. "Perhaps they should respect them." Days later, a fleet of polished silver ships appeared in orbit, the Galactic Council's official response. The council delegates arrived in shining robes, walking through the ruined city as if the war had been nothing more than a small inconvenience. Their leader, Envoy Sarath, stepped forward with a practiced smile. "Iliara, we have come to ensure your safety," he announced. Rafe folded his arms. "A little late for that, Envoy." Sarath's smile faded slightly. "And who are you?" "Captain Rafe Calder, Neptune Colonies." "We answered their distress call." Sarath frowned. "That was not your place. Human colonies are not authorized to launch independent military actions without council approval." Rafe stepped closer. "Council approval?" His voice was calm but hard as steel. "While you were sitting in your chambers, these people were dying."
"You call us reckless?"
"I call you slow," the Iliaran crowd murmured in agreement. Eleanor Vey stepped forward. "Envoy Sarath," she said, "without the humans, there would be no Iliara left for you to protect. They have earned the thanks of our entire world." Sarath's face tightened, but he said nothing. Over the next weeks, the humans helped the Iliarans build a proper planetary defense network. They installed shield generators, trained local defense forces, and taught them how to build better weapons. "We can't stay forever," Rafe told Eleanor one night as they stood over a glowing map of the planet. "The Krellnar will be back, and maybe next time they'll bring a bigger fleet." "You'll need to be ready," Eleanor nodded. "We will be ready, and we will remember who taught us to fight." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, word spread about what had happened on Iliara. Other worlds began to send secret messages to the Neptunian colonies. One message read, "We are under threat from raiders. The council has done nothing. Will you help us like you helped Iliara?" Another said, "We cannot trust the council to defend us. Can we join your alliance?" Rafe sat in the Iron Hail's command chair, reading each message carefully. "Looks like we've started something bigger than one battle," he said. Kira grinned. "Maybe that's not a bad thing." When the council fleet finally left Iliara, they did so quietly, without the usual celebration. Envoy Sarath left Rafe with a warning. "The galaxy cannot allow rogue fleets to set their own rules. Be careful, Captain Calder. You may find the council turning its eye on you next." Rafe didn't flinch. Then they'd better be ready for a fight. Before leaving, the humans held one last gathering with the Iliarans. The people filled the central plaza, cheering as Rafe and his crew stood on the steps. "You called for help," Rafe said loudly, so all could hear, "and the galaxy ignored you, but we didn't. And we never will." The Iliarans cheered louder, many raising their hands in salute. "You are no longer alone," Rafe continued. If anyone tries to hurt you again, they will face the Deathworlders of Neptune first. That night, the Neptunian fleet prepared to depart. The ships floated above Ilyara like a small constellation. Kira watched the planet shrink in the viewport as the fleet accelerated toward deep space. Where to next? She asked. Rafe looked at the incoming distress messages on his screen. There's a world called Fenris asking for help. Raiders are hitting their colonies. Are we going? Rafe smiled. We are the Deathworlders. Of course we're going. The Iron Hail jumped into faster-than-light travel, followed by the rest of the fleet. Their next mission had already begun. And far behind them, on Ilyara, a new statue was being built. A monument to the day the humans came, fought, and stayed just long enough to teach a peaceful people how to stand on their own.